Passengers hovered long enough to land safely. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt the power rush through her. Lagos never truly slept. Even before dawn, the city breathed, generators humming like distant drums, Danfo buses coughing awake, and the faint smell of rain mixing with dust and fried akara. In a modest two-bedroom flat in S.t.o.r.e.e.s, S.t.o.r.e.e.s rose quietly from her mat, careful not to wake her children. She moved the way most mothers did at that hour. Efficiently, thoughtfully, already tired before the day had begun. S.t.o.r.e.e.s was not famous. She was not rich. She was a widowed mother of two, Sola, 11, thoughtful beyond his years, and Kemi, 7, bright-eyed and endlessly curious. By 6 o'clock, S.t.o.r.e.e.s had swept the corridor, heated water on a kerosene stove, and begun packing lunches. Bread, boiled eggs, a small flask of pap. She hummed softly, not because she was happy, but because silence made room for worry. The city had been hard lately. Prices rose faster than hope, and rumors of unrest traveled quickly through markets and buses. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt it in her bones, something tense and waiting, like harm crouching just out of sight. As she tied her wrapper and reached for her headscarf, a strange warmth passed through her palms. She paused, flexing her fingers. The feeling vanished as quickly as it came. She dismissed it as fatigue. Outside, Lagos greeted her with noise and motion. S.t.o.r.e.e.s walked her children to school, reminding them to greet elders properly and keep their bags close. When Kemi tripped on a broken pavement stone, S.t.o.r.e.e.s grabbed her instinctively. For a brief moment, the world slowed. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt a pulse, steady, powerful, travel from her chest to her hands. Kemi did not cry. Not even a scratch marked her knees. S.t.o.r.e.e.s stared at her daughter, unsettled. Kemi only smiled. "Mama, your hands are warm," she said. S.t.o.r.e.e.s laughed it off, kissed their foreheads, and turned toward the bus stop. But all day at the tailoring shop where she worked, the warmth returned, whenever she focused, whenever fear brushed too close. By evening, S.t.o.r.e.e.s knew one thing for certain. Something within her had begun to wake. That night, the power announced itself without apology. Rain came suddenly, pounding roofs and flooding streets within minutes. Electricity failed, plunging the neighborhood into darkness broken only by lightning. S.t.o.r.e.e.s had just finished serving dinner when a scream tore through the storm. Then another. From the compound next door. Panic rose like smoke. "Fire!" someone shouted. S.t.o.r.e.e.s heart slammed against her ribs. She ushered her children into the inner room, bolted the door, and ran toward the noise before fear could argue otherwise. Flames licked the side of a wooden building, fed by spilled fuel and wind. Neighbors stood frozen, buckets useless against the growing blaze. Without thinking, S.t.o.r.e.e.s stepped forward. The heat pressed against her skin, unbearable, and yet, she did not burn. Instead, the warmth inside her surged. Her hands glowed faintly, like embers under ash. S.t.o.r.e.e.s raised them, palms open, trembling. The fire bent. It did not vanish, but it slowed, curling inward as though obeying an unseen command. People gasped. Rain intensified, steam rising as flames weakened. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt every second like a heartbeat, every drop of rain like a command she had not known she could give. When it ended, the fire was gone. The building stood blackened, but intact. Silence followed, heavy and stunned. S.t.o.r.e.e.s staggered back, dizzy. The glow faded. Her knees buckled, and strong hands caught her before she fell. Faces stared at her, not with fear yet, but with awe. She pulled away quickly. "It was the rain," she said, her voice shaking. "God answered our prayers." She walked home in silence, soaked and trembling, knowing she had lied, and knowing the truth was far more frightening. That night, sleep did not come. S.t.o.r.e.e.s stared at the ceiling, palms tingling, wondering what kind of door she had opened, and whether it could ever be closed again. By morning, Lagos was already talking. Stories moved faster than traffic. At the market, S.t.o.r.e.e.s heard whispers before she saw the looks. A woman who stopped fire. a glow in the rain. Some said it was exaggeration. Others said it was witchcraft. A few said it was destiny. S.t.o.r.e.e.s kept her head down, sewing hems and mending tears, pretending not to hear. But the power did not care for secrecy. When a needle slipped and pierced her finger, the wound sealed instantly. When an argument nearby threatened to turn violent, her presence alone seemed to calm it. Fear settled deep in her chest. Not fear of the power, but fear of what the world would do once it decided what she was. That evening, Sola confronted her quietly. "Mama," he said, "did you do something last night?" S.t.o.r.e.e.s met her son's eyes. There was no accusation there, only trust. She nodded once. Sola absorbed this carefully. "Are you scared?" "Yes," S.t.o.r.e.e.s admitted. "Are you still my mama?" S.t.o.r.e.e.s smiled through tears. "Always." Outside, sirens wailed. Far across the city, something was breaking: systems, people, patience. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt it like a storm gathering under her skin. She did not yet know what she would become. But she knew this. Lagos was changing. And so was she. Lagos did not wait for S.t.o.r.e.e.s to understand herself before demanding more from her. 2 days after the fire, the tailoring shop closed early. Soldiers blocked parts of the road, their boots heavy against the asphalt, their faces hard with orders they did not make. Rumors hardened into truth. A fuel depot strike had turned violent, and panic was spreading faster than fuel itself. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt it again, the pressure behind her ribs, the restless heat beneath her skin. On her way home, a bus screeched to a halt ahead of her. Shouts erupted. A crowd gathered quickly, fear multiplying with every voice. S.t.o.r.e.e.s pushed forward just enough to see a man collapsed on the roadside, his breathing shallow, his skin ashen. People argued about hospitals, about money, about blame. No one moved. S.t.o.r.e.e.s knelt without thinking. Her hands hovered over the man's chest, trembling. "I don't know how," she thought. "I don't know what I'm doing." The warmth answered anyway. It flowed gently this time, not like fire, but like sunlight through water. The man gasped, color returning to his face. His breathing steadied. When his eyes opened, the crowd fell silent. Someone whispered, "It's her." S.t.o.r.e.e.s stood slowly. Fear sharpened the air. Phones appeared. Questions followed. She stepped back, heart racing, and walked away before anyone could stop her. That night, she locked her door, drew her children close, and understood something new. Helping people would not be quiet. It would not be safe. The first threat came disguised as praise. A man arrived at S.t.o.r.e.e.s door the next afternoon, dressed neatly, smiling carefully. He introduced himself as Mr. Bamadil, a representative of a private security firm. He spoke of protection, of opportunity, of using her gift to maintain order. "You could be important," he said. "Respected. Paid." S.t.o.r.e.e.s listened politely, her hands cold despite the heat. She saw it clearly, the way his words curved around control. When she refused, his smile thinned. "Others will come," he warned. That evening, power failed across the neighborhood. Darkness settled heavily. S.t.o.r.e.e.s felt the shift immediately, like a held breath. Outside, footsteps moved too deliberately to be normal. She guided her children into hiding just as the door shook under a heavy knock. S.t.o.r.e.e.s stepped forward alone. The moment the door burst open, the power surged, not wild, but firm. The air thickened, invisible walls forming where fear tried to enter. The intruder stumbled, disoriented, unable to cross the threshold. "Leave," S.t.o.r.e.e.s said quietly. They did. When silence returned, S.t.o.r.e.e.s leaned against the wall, shaking. This power could protect, but it would also isolate. There would be no going back to ordinary. By the end of the week, Lagos had chosen a name for her. They called her Mama S.t.o.r.e.e.s. Children spoke it with wonder. Adults spoke it with caution. On the radio, callers argued whether she was a blessing or a danger. S.t.o.r.e.e.s listened while cooking, the pot simmering as tension filled the air. She did not feel like a hero. She felt like a mother doing what mothers had always done, standing between danger and what they loved. The difference was that now, the city could see it. That night, standing on her balcony, Zuri looked out over the lights and shadows of Lagos. She felt the power settle, not raging, not demanding, but waiting, learning her as much as she was learning it. Somewhere in the city, something darker was watching too, and it had noticed her name. Fame, Zuri learned, was louder than danger. By Monday morning, people waited near her building. Some came with folded hands and quiet hope. Others came with cameras, voices sharp with entitlement. A woman pushed forward, begging Zuri to touch her sick child. A man shouted that miracles should be shared, not hidden. Zuri felt pulled apart, her body a narrow bridge between desperation and expectation. She raised her hands once, not to use her power, but to ask for space. "Please," she said. "I am not a hospital. I am not God." The words did not land well. That afternoon, the radio turned harsher. Commentators argued about regulation, about threat levels, about whether one woman should be allowed to hold such ability without oversight. Zuri stitched in silence, her foot pressing the pedal too hard, the machine rattling under her tension. When she returned home, she found Sola standing guard at the door like a much older boy.
Men came asking questions.
He said quietly. Zuri's chest tightened. The power stirred, responding not to fear, but to resolve. Lagos was no longer just watching her. It was deciding what to do with her. The attack came without uniforms. Zuri was returning from the market at dusk when the bus swerved violently. A shout. A crash. Metal screamed against concrete. People flew forward, bodies colliding, glass shattering. Zuri hit the floor hard, pain exploding through her shoulder. Then everything slowed. Fear sharpened the world into fragments. Zuri felt the power rush through her, not as heat this time, but as force. She stood amid chaos as if held by invisible hands. Around her, passengers hovered, suspended just long enough to land safely as the bus settled into stillness. Silence followed. Then screaming. Zuri staggered outside, dizzy, heart pounding. Across the road, she saw them. 3 men watching too closely, speaking urgently into phones. Not helpers. Not victims. She ran. For the first time, Zuri understood that her power did not only attract need. It attracted hunters.